And we are back at the EarthX TV stage with a very, very special guest. The 2023, that's recent, Miss America, Miss Grace Stanke. Give her a round of applause.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here in Dallas at EarthX. I'm a nuclear engineer, so I do a ton of different work in the energy field, and it's so much fun to meet so many people that have such a forward, solution-oriented mindset here, which is awesome.
When I was growing up, nuclear engineers couldn't win Miss America.
I don't know many others that have modern day, so it's okay.
Right. So we have a polymath in our midst. We were looking at your bio, and we have musician. I believe there was breakdancer, sharpshooter.
Oh God! Oh my God!
UFC champion. And dog mom is
yeah. So WWE, dirt bike. No, not actually.
Right.
So I've been told I read like a Mad Lib. You know those storybooks that you would fill out when you're a kid, and you wouldn't tell them the story. You just ask for a noun or a verb or whatever. And that's just because I love to explore new things and try new things, and to just push myself to do different challenges. So like in the bio, it says things where I play violin. I've been playing violin since I was 8. I skied Division I water skiing in college, which is the most niche Division I sport you can probably ever think of. And I started it like my freshman year of college, so like learned it throughout those 4 years. So just keep that in mind. Like I didn't just like walk on and be like, oh yes, I'm winning D1. I did not. But in that capacity, then, I'm also a nuclear engineer. I competed in the Miss America organization, and I love to show that like all of these different aspects are what connect us as human beings, right? There's always going to be some type of common ground. There's always going to be something that we can agree upon, whether it's our hobbies or a love for Star Wars or whatever it might be. Like there's always something. You get it? Oh my God. What's your favorite movie? Show? Where are we at?
I'm literally a Rebel Moon addict. So, but what I want to say is, after all of those things, nuclear engineering, why?
Spite against my father.
Oh,
believe it or not, like that.
Now
I'm not
we got
kidding.
The juicy stuff going. Let's go.
So okay, that's the short version of the story.
Yeah.
The long version of the story was I was 16 years old. I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. How many of you knew what you wanted to do when you were 16? Okay, congrats, gold stars for you guys. You're cooler than all of us. Cooler than I was at 16. When I was 16, I had no clue. I knew I liked math and I knew I liked science. And now the reasoning behind that is the mentality when I got assignments back. When I got a bad grade on something, I knew I was either right or wrong on the problem. And there was no like subjective judgment there. When I got an English paper back and a teacher would be like, you're so close, you're almost there. I'm like, don't tell me that.
Right.
Like, don't tell me that. I read the rubric, whatever. So I always knew math and science was a little bit more my thing. I grew up around engineering. My dad was a civil engineer, so he'd take us kids to the construction sites. We'd watch bridges get demoed, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, which now in hindsight, as a nuclear engineer, is a bit of a red flag.
Oh, no.
That I thought the demoing was cool, but it's okay. All right, jokes. Sorry, that was a joke. Anyways.
She likes seeing things blow up, but she knows how to do nuclear stuff.
But I always thought it was cool to see my dad use math and science to help people live their everyday life. To put those bridges up, and now somebody's commute to work was 20 minutes shorter because they didn't have to drive 10 miles down the river to cross a bridge and then come back up the river or something like that.
Right.
And when I was looking at different types of engineering, well, there's a lot. We got mechanical, biomedical, electrical, there's like nanomolecular, like it's a never-ending list, it feels like. And I'm going down the list of different types of engineering. First of all, do we have any engineers here?
Shout out to the engineer.
Okay, we got one. All right,
you.
so I may say some engineer slander here, all right? I'm looking at the list of different types of engineering. What type are you? Oh, computer science. Okay, you're safe. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, mechanical engineering, right? One of the most common types of engineering. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. But like everybody goes into mechanical engineering. I don't want to do that. I want to be special. I have to do something unique. I look at electrical engineering. My older brother went into electrical engineering. There's no way I'm going to follow in my older brother's footsteps, right? Like absolutely not. Not going to happen. I look at civil engineering. My dad did. I'm like, yeah, it was cool, but like he just pushed dirt around. So like, do I really want to do that? But I get to the next thing on the list and I see nuclear engineering. I have no clue what nuclear science is. I think bombs from World War II history
Absolutely.
class. And I think that there are maybe 2 nuclear reactors in the entire United States maximum. Like, nuclear energy is a thing, but like it's not actually a thing, right?
Right.
That is my knowledge of nuclear science at this point in time, right? When I was 16 years old. Now I read nuclear engineer, and I think to myself, man, what a flex it would be to say I'm a nuclear engineer.
Let's go.
Like, so that's how it started.
Wow. All
and
right.
then go back home, talking to my dad, I had it narrowed down to nuclear or aerospace engineering.
Wow.
Both just because they sounded really cool. No
They do.
actual reason, right?
They do.
Imagine the 50th high school class reunion, right?
Oh my God.
But I'm talking with my dad. I'm like, okay, what are your thoughts, nuclear or aerospace engineering? And he looks at me and he goes, Grace, don't go into nuclear. There's no future there, right? Now, when you're 16 years old, do you always listen to your father?
I did.
Gold star for you too.
No, right,
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I did not.
But that's actually what kind of drove me to select
Right.
nuclear engineering, is I wanted to prove my dad wrong. The reason I stayed in it is I learned that nuclear science is genuinely everywhere around us. We just
Wow.
don't see it. And it's already positively impacting our lives
Okay.
in so many ways that we don't even know.
So, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I can dive into this. Are you ready?
Definitely. Go right
Okay,
ahead.
cool. I was gonna say, because things like smoke detectors in our
Okay.
everyday lives, how many of you like bananas and
do.
avocados?
I do.
Bananas and avocados are naturally radioactive. They're completely fine and normal. You get more radiation from eating a banana than living next to a nuclear power plant for a year,
Wow.
right? And like, it's still, bananas are completely healthy. They're great
Yeah.
sources of potassium.
Right,
Keep
right.
eating them. I love banana bread, okay?
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying, don't let that impact you.
Right.
So that's like things in our daily life. On the medicine side, nuclear, about 1 out of 3 times you see your doctor, you're getting treated by some form of nuclear medicine. I like to use the example of MRI machines. So how many of you
Right.
have an MRI scan done? So when that technology first came out, it was an MRI machine, or an NMRI scan, a nuclear magnetic resonance imaging machine. People didn't like the word nuclear, so
Yeah.
they just got rid of it. And
Right.
now, how many of you here were like, oh my God, that was nuclear science? Like,
Right.
whew, didn't know that one. And it's such a widely, commonly piece of nuclear technology in the medicine world. Something that hit a little closer to home for me. My dad's a 2-time cancer survivor. He wouldn't be alive if it weren't for the radiation treatments and the other different treatments that he received throughout his time.
So it seems like there's a stigma that you're trying to
Yeah.
overcome. Can you talk about what the source of that stigma is and how big of an obstacle is it for the future that you are going to prove your dad wrong definitely does exist?
You know, one of the biggest stigmas that I have to like discuss worldwide is The Simpsons. Like,
The
I never
Simpsons,
thought
dude.
I never thought I would have to like sit down and talk with people who are like, well, The Simpsons, it's glowing green goo is what nuclear waste is. I'm like, no.
Three-eyed fish.
It's just rocks. Like, it's just little fuel pellets the size of the top knuckle of my pinky. That's
Yeah.
what high-level nuclear waste looks like. Like, it's not something to be scared of. You can go up to the casks that this high-level radioactive waste is stored in. I've hugged it. You can kiss those casks, right?
Yeah.
That fuel is safely managed in those casks, is what we call them. Essentially giant concrete cylinders. They're not very exciting.
Right.
But yeah, so, you know, that's honestly one of the biggest stereotypes in a way that I've got to overcome when it comes to nuclear science. However, that is changing because we're seeing a lot of improvement in public perception of nuclear. Here in the States alone, last year, 2020, or in 2023, public perception was at about like a 54% acceptance of nuclear, continuing the existing fleet, and building new nuclear, versus now in 2024, we're seeing a 61%, 61% of Americans that are supporting the nuclear fleet. So we're seeing this increase, which is really exciting.
Well, that's what happens when Miss America is also a nuclear engineer. Things tend to improve on the positive side of that. So tell me, when you talk about the future of nuclear engineering and how we're going to harness this energy, what are you starting to see on the horizon?
Yeah, so right now in the United States, about 20% of our electricity comes from nuclear.
20%.
Nuclear, 20%, yeah, 20% of nuclear energy is, 20% of America's energy comes from nuclear energy.
Gotcha.
There we go. 10% of energy worldwide comes from nuclear, just to put it into perspective. Now, how many of you are like, oh, I didn't realize that like that much electricity
Already.
came from nuclear.
Right.
Here in the States, we have 94 operating reactors. We have 2 that are scheduled to come back online. We're actually restarting nuclear reactors right now. There's 2 that are scheduled to restart, 1 in Michigan and 1 in Pennsylvania. And some of that is a drive to get electricity back online to meet this increased power demand coming from things like AI and data centers.
Right.
And I think that that's something incredible to note, because that's
Yeah.
never been done in America before, is
Wow.
restarting these nuclear reactors. Now, I want to highlight another country that has done this. Japan.
Japan.
So Japan, after Fukushima,
After
they
Fukushima,
shut
okay.
down
Yeah.
everything, right? There was
Right.
not a single nuclear power plant operating. They had about 30 reactors at the time operating. Now, as of today, they've restarted about 13 of them to
Wow.
create electricity for their grid, because they know that they, as a country, have every right to, can I say give the finger to nuclear? Is that okay to say?
Really tell them to go
They
take a
can.
hike.
I was gonna say they can
Yeah.
tell nuclear to go take a hike,
Right.
Like they have every right to as a nation,
Right.
but they're still aggressively pursuing restarting these reactors and looking at new, which is incredible.
Let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
There is the stigma that The Simpsons, thank you Homer, gave us over the safety of nuclear, but could you talk about the safety of nuclear energy in context of the other energies that we are already using more than that source right there?
Yeah. So I had this exact concern when I was a junior in college, and
Right.
I was like, okay, how good of healthcare do I really need to get, right?
Right.
So I actually pulled like the Bureau of Labor Statistics. What were the OSHA reports for fatal and non-fatal incidents at different industries?
Okay.
Let's compare nuclear not just to other energy industries,
Right.
but every type of workforce, right?
Absolutely.
So in this capacity, does anybody want to take a guess as to how many industries total were safer than working at a nuclear power plant?
How many industries total were safer than working at a nuclear power?
Safer. I'm hearing a couple different answers.
She's setting
All
us
right.
up for a surprise,
Okay,
so
no,
I'm
no,
gonna
no.
say like maybe 1 or 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're close.
Yeah.
So 6.
Only 6 were
Things
safer.
like accounting
Yeah.
and data analytics,
Wow.
and a couple other desk jobs like that.
Wow.
And now keep in mind, nuclear power plants, you're not just sitting at a desk for the most part. You're actively out in the plant, you're doing
Mm-hmm.
work, things like that. So I think that speaks a lot to the culture of safety that nuclear has. It has one of the highest performing track records in terms of safety in comparison to other energy sources. And I love nuclear for that reason, because it is a safety first culture now.
Wow.
And now I'm gonna emphasize here, because this is another question that's brought up a lot, is like, oh, well, how did Fukushima and Chernobyl and things like that happen?
Right.
The culture was so different back then. It was so different, and I'll be honest, part of this culture was built because of those
that,
things.
right.
Because of those things. And I think that that's just like such an incredible thing, that nuclear actually looks at, okay, what went wrong? What can we learn from it? And let's actually implement those lessons learned.
That is amazing.
And it's just like, it's nice to see that type of action.
Well, listen, we have a future here when it comes to how much energy we're about to need as AI comes online, as we have a growing population, as we've got more needs for the grid to actually disperse this energy. Is there any issue that you see when it comes to producing this energy versus distributing this energy to the population?
Yeah, so 2 very different types of problems here, the transmission versus the production of the energy.
Yeah.
In terms of production, nuclear energy, we've been doing it since the 70s.
Right.
We've been doing it well. It's been awesome here in the States, and there's no reason why we can't continue producing that energy. In terms of grid transmission, like I said, that's a whole separate issue that that's not just my area of expertise.
Got you.
Yeah.
So what do we need in terms of building the infrastructure out to have more of these plants in full operation and to have the kind of dispersal that makes it an effective source of energy? What do we need to actually put in place?
Yeah, so nuclear right now is sort of at this unique cusp in a way. And when it comes to building new nuclear, 2 of the biggest issues is that it takes a long time, historically it has, and it usually goes over budget in the United States here. So those are 2 pretty big issues when it comes to constructing new nuclear.
True.
Now the solution behind this, or the theory of the solution behind this, is to have more modular type building. So
Modular.
this can be small modular reactors. This can be modular construction of our current large light water reactors. The most recent design that was brought online was Vogtle Units 3 and 4 in Georgia. So that is a AP1000 reactor design. And I'm not going to get too into the
'cause I was
technicality
like,
of
wow.
it. No, we're not going to get,
Big
that's
words.
all I want to say is
Yeah.
the AP1000 design, which this is large light water reactor, right?
Okay.
Versus small modular reactor is looking at a smaller sized reactor. The entire facility takes up about the size of a football field. And that is sort of like the startup side of nuclear, right? It's the new, the biggest, the baddest, the best, but it's only new and commercial. And I'm going to bring that up because we've had SMRs, small modular reactors, in our Navy for 40 years now in the form of nuclear submarines. This is not necessarily new. Now, the biggest issue with construction is getting this modular sort of construction up and brought online.
Yeah.
So getting this right supply chain in place. Those 2 units that were built helped with that immensely.
Okay.
Now, the other challenge is the licensing aspect of this, right?
Okay.
And I feel like this is something that we're going to hear a lot of throughout this entire conference. Because it's not just nuclear. So the licensing process tends to cause like time delay and time delay and time delay and adds on cost and things like that. So there's actually been a ton of work at the federal level, not just in this administration, but in the previous administration, because nuclear is actually bipartisan at the federal level.
Nice.
Sorry, can we hear that again? Nuclear is bipartisan
at the federal level.
That's very rare.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of work to sort of restructure that permitting and licensing process for building new nuclear.
Listen, so I've been enlightened in so many ways, and one of the things that I'm really feeling is that there's real hope to solve real problems when it comes to actual clean energy, because one of the things about nuclear is comparatively, it's clean. It doesn't cause 6 million deaths a year from air pollution. This is one of the things that I'm really excited that you're working on, and we couldn't have a better, should I say, pitch person to get that out there, a real nuclear scientist who also happens to be the former Miss America. So Grace, is there an organization that we can find you at online?
So I work for a company called Constellation, but I also do post a bunch of like fun nuclear education social media content.
Right.
So if you look up Grace Stanke on pretty much any social media platform except for TikTok, because that's my like one safe consumption space. But Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, any of those, feel free to follow me. And I always post like nuclear updates and updates about my personal life too. So you'll see a lot of pictures of my dog on there, forewarning, but also learn some cool stuff about nuclear.
Grace, thank you. We have been blessed by your presence. Thank you so much,
thank you so much
for coming
Theo.
to Earth X 2025. Thank you very much, y'all. Stick around at the Earth X TV stage. We have more amazing guests coming up.